All right, let's talk about it. That conversation, the one you have when a home just will not sell. It's got to be one of the toughest talks in real estate, right? And it's happening a lot more often these days. Here's the thing. The old playbook for repricing, it's broken. So today we're going to build a new one.
Okay, look at this number, 34%. That's how much expired listings have spiked right here in Maricopa County in just the past year. Now, this isn't some small little blip on the radar. No, this is a major market shift. And if you're a resale agent, you are feeling this right now.
And listen, this isn't just some abstract statistic. It's a reality check. If you work resale here in Phoenix, you are going to see more expireds this year than you have since 2019, period. So this is a conversation you will be having. The real question is, are you ready for it? Let's break down exactly what that new strategy looks like.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to tackle this in 3 parts. First up, we'll look at the core problem. Then we'll dive into why the old ways just aren't cutting it anymore. And finally, we'll lay out the new strategy you can start using today. All right, part 1, the core problem. And the subtitle here is key. It's not a failure, it's a data point. So first things first, we've got to change our mindset. You know, an expired listing, it feels like a failure, right? For you, for your client, for everyone. But what if it's not? What if it's actually just pure, unbiased feedback from the market?
See, when you reframe it like that, it changes everything. An expired listing is just a listing with a documented pricing error. And the seller, they now have hard evidence that the market disagreed with their hopes. This simple shift takes all the emotion, all the blame out of the conversation. It's not about who is right or wrong, it's about what the data proved. And that's the foundation for a much, much better conversation.
All right, section 2, why the old methods are failing. And you might be thinking, okay, so why can't I just pull some new comps and have the same old conversation? Well, because the market today is not the market of 6 months ago. It's changed in 2 really big ways, and if you ignore them, you're just setting yourself up to expire all over again. First, there's what we call the temporal shift. Think about it. The comps you used back then, say from January to March, that was a different world. You had lower inventory, more buyer urgency. It was a hotter market. But the market now? You've got way more inventory, tons of new competition, and current pricing reflects that. So if you're using yesterday's data to price a home for today's market, you're pretty much guaranteed to fail. And you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at the data. This is from the Cromford Report. Active resale inventory in Phoenix Metro, it just exploded. We're talking thousands and thousands of more homes on the market compared to a year ago. Every single one of those is a new competitor for your seller, and all that competition does one thing. It pushes prices down.
But here's the kicker. That increase in resale inventory, that's only half the story. There's a second, and honestly, a much bigger pressure that a lot of agents just aren't factoring in. And that is the absolute tidal wave of new construction competition.
Get this. Zonda research shows that about 3,200 new homes are started every single month in Maricopa County. That's not a one-time thing. That's a constant flood of brand new inventory. So put yourself in a buyer's shoes for a second. Why would they buy your seller's 10-year-old home when they can get a shiny new one, maybe with incentives, for pretty much the same price?
Okay, so now we know the problem. The market's shifted, and new builds are everywhere. How do we turn all this data into a winning strategy? Let's get practical and walk through a case study from Chandler, Arizona, to see how this plays out in the real world.
So here's the scenario. You've got a home in Chandler listed at $415. 90 days go by, crickets. No offers. The listing expires. But here's the detail that changes everything. While that house was just sitting there, 2 new build communities opened up right nearby. The entire competitive landscape changed under the seller's feet, and they didn't even know it.
So when you lay it out like this, you can see the new reality. The expired listing at $415K is now going head-to-head with new builds priced pretty much the same, but the new builds are offering rate buydowns, upgrades, and a 10-year warranty. The resale has none of that. This isn't just about competing with the house next door anymore. This is a whole different ballgame. And the question for the seller becomes so clear. Without adjusting your price, how can you possibly compete with that?
And that brings us to the new repricing strategy. It's a super simple 3-step process. 1, you document that market shift with fresh, current comps. 2, you have to showcase the new construction as direct head-to-head competition. And 3, and this is absolutely the most important part, you let the data deliver the message. Because this is the whole point. The data says the market moved. You don't have to. You're no longer the bad guy, the bearer of bad news. You become the messenger of market reality. You stop saying, I think we're overpriced. Instead, you show them the proof and you say, look, the market has moved since we first listed. It completely transforms the dynamic of that conversation. So, let's wrap up with your key takeaways. Remember, an expired listing isn't a failure, it's a data point. Your real competition now is both resale and new construction. You have to start putting those new builds in your CMA to show the whole picture. And finally, let the data drive those difficult conversations. When you do that, the right price isn't an argument, it's just the logical next step. Look, dealing with expired listings the right way, it demands a modern workflow. You need the fresh data, you need to show your work, and you need to communicate clearly. CMA Flow is built for this. It gives you that workflow from the repricing analysis itself all the way through to that crucial client conversation. So that just leaves one last question for you to think about. As this market keeps changing, and it will, you've got to ask yourself, is my next pricing conversation really ready for today's market?